I know you write them, but does anyone read them? It's very common in facility management to be writing reports. That might be related to a specific issue or situation. It might be a monthly, a weekly, a quarterly, and even the annual report that you have to write for senior management, your boss, etc. There's a few things to consider when you're writing a report to make it the most effective it can be. I'm going to start with the first one, which is, what do they want from it? The people who read it, whether it's your boss, senior management, or finance, must have a use for it. There must be a purpose for them reading it and using it. Otherwise, why write it? So the first thing you need to establish is, what do they do with it? What do they need in the report? And what do they want to see? Not sure? Well, guess what? Go ask. Bring an example of the report that you've been creating and walk through it and figure out what they like, what they don't like, what works, what doesn't, and ask them specifically, why do they want this report and what do they want to see in it? So that's the first place to start, but it's not the most important one. The most important thing about the report is, what do you want to accomplish? What's your goal or your objective of writing the report? Because in addition to it being a tool or being used by somebody else that you're sending it to, you need to think about it as an important tool that you use to influence others. So let's talk about a couple of the key reasons you might want to write a report. You might actually have other ones, and you have to figure that out yourself, but here's a couple to start with. The first one is performance. You want to demonstrate to senior management and to finance and to your boss that your facility management operation is performing well. That the things that you're doing, things that you've implemented, your initiatives are actually achieving the results that are expected. So when you write a report, you should keep that in mind. The other thing about writing a report is to highlight issues, problems that you have that need to be solved. Now, you may not expect senior management to solve them, but you want to highlight them so when you come with a solution, they are well aware of the problem and they're going to be more accepting of your solution. They're going to know that you actually need to do something in order to fix that problem, whatever that problem is. And finally, sort of related to what we just talked about, you want to set yourself up for your ask. You eventually are going to submit your budget and you're going to need funding. So if you are putting things into your reporting that justify the reasons why you need an increase in funding, then when you go to your budget process, they'll have already seen that, they'll hopefully understand it, and it'll make your case a little bit better. The other thing is, if you're looking to implement an initiative, replace a piece of equipment, if you're identifying the issues and problems along the way in your reports, then when you actually put your business case forward, there's already going to be evidence. They will already have seen those problems and they're going to be more likely to accept your proposal. So I've talked about 3 different things, but you're going to want to figure out specifically what you want to achieve. That might be different in different years or even within the year in different reports. So you got to work that out. So the next part, and the most important part, is actually writing it, isn't it? One of the key tips I've got is, don't wait until just before the report is due to start writing down your report. You want to start as soon as you're basically finished the previous report. You want to document it. Get an app on your phone, get a notebook that you bring with you everywhere you go, and when there's something that happens, something you notice, or something you think about that maybe should be in the report, write it down. That way, when you get to the part of writing the report, you'll actually have information and you won't be racking your brains to figure out, what the heck did I do last month? What really matters? It can be as simple as weather events. You had struggles with the air conditioning because of a really, really hot couple of days. You might not remember that when you get to a monthly or quarterly report. But if you wrote it down and you identified the challenges you're having with the equipment, what the temperature was, what you did, then you're going to be able to tell that story much better. And again, set yourself up for the ask when you ask for more money, capital money perhaps, to increase or improve the air conditioning. The other thing is to keep it short. You don't want a long report. These days, people don't want to read too much. The other thing is some people really want short, concise highlights. Other people want lots of detail. So you want to structure your report in a way that satisfies both those needs, which basically means the traditional summary, then a short body, and then attachments. Attachments either attached to the document itself or things that you can provide separately if they ask for it. This really ends up satisfying all the various needs. It also enables you to put the evidence that you're using for things like charts, graphs, analysis, and decision making that you put in your report. The other thing you want to do is be explicit. You want to have facts and details and information. Also possibly tell a story, like explain what would happen if this piece of equipment fails because it is getting so old. Don't just say it needs to be replaced. Say it needs to be replaced, and if it isn't, this is what might happen. This is what the impact financially is to us. This is the image problem that we might have if we have to shut down. Really tell that story, be explicit. You also want to use visuals. Graphics, photographs, charts, tables, anything that is going to make it easy and obvious for them to see the information that you're conveying, and also to help you influence them with that information. Now, after you've written your report and you submitted it, you really should do a follow-up. You want to ask the people who've read it and the people who use it, who you would have already talked about, what they thought about that particular report. What information was most useful? Take this as an opportunity to re-highlight the things and the messages you're trying to get across. If your message isn't getting across, if they're not recognizing the issues that you face and that you want to solve, then that gives you a clue that you need to change the way you're writing it. Don't be static, continually improve. And finally, think of the report not as a chore that you have to do, but as a tool you use to get results.